Again, harmony and wholeness, guys, right? I've been in super deep gratitude cries all day, so that explains my puffy face. But basically, I just kind of wanted to definitely talk about the code that is kind of happening right now, right, as we speak. How these things are practical for us today, and how it benefits us, right, personally and as a collective, to be able to see the code. One of the last lives I did from this page was about the code of what really St. Patrick's Day was about, right? And if we remember, the way they generally will give us the information is they were talking about the snakes, right? And the snakes were a code. It was a code for us. So being able to just kind of decipher that code, or have the ability to see, okay, this is the communication that they're trying to give off, and I see what that is. It really puts you in a completely different mindset and a mentality, right? And Dwayne Hendricks has been so kind enough through Supreme Science. Y'all gotta forgive my book that's so dog-eared, but this is like my cheat codes. These are my cheat codes, right? So what I wanted to talk about today was the code of the three sisters, the three witches, the weird sisters, as it's called, and why it's applicable today and how it's being seen. Right, a lot of these movies that we've seen that there are scenes with three women. Hocus Pocus, right? There's a red-haired witch, there's a blonde-haired witch, and there's a dark-haired witch. The Witches of Eastwick. Kanye West's album, one of his new albums, he had that on the cover. The cross was upside down, or the sword was upside down, symbolizing a cross. Practical Magic, they kind of, I guess, just had the black-haired and the red-haired witch, two sisters. Coincidentally, one of their names was Jillian. But we've seen this, right? We've seen that they continue to put this this symbolism or this visualization in front of us. So basically, those things stand for the power, right? First of all, the power that happens when you have a group of women who have a singular mindset. But also, it represents countries. The blonde-haired witch represents England. The dark-haired witch represents Scotland. And the red-haired witch represents Ireland. Okay? And many times when there has been a lot of conditioning or social programming that has happened, it has happened in collusion with these multiple countries. And this is why, hold on one second, baby. And this is why you kind of see the same, you want an icy? Okay. This is why you kind of see, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the same behavior towards certain sets of people or classes in the same places, right? All over the world. It's the same thing.
I don't want to leave, so could I play a little more?
Yeah, go ahead. You want to play for just a little while longer? And we'll leave and I'll go get you. Okay. So basically that's what that's standing for, right? And you're probably like, great, okay, so what? Because I really I am about anything that I learn being able to be used in a practical form and fashion where it applies to me somehow today, right? I want you to think about a lot of the scandals that have been very, very popular in the news, right? And basically that these scandals always include three women, right? Just about. I mean, they may add more, but the scandal that gets the ball rolling, right? Or the template that is shown is this template. If we remember with the Bill Clinton situation, and you will probably see me, drifting from time to time to just kind of pick the facts up from the book. But with Bill Clinton, right, with the whole Monica Lewinsky fiasco, there were three women. And even though these women may not have had the specific hair color that they showed them with at the time, the media was still very careful to show these women with different hair colors, right? And it kind of makes you think maybe it's possible that even our thoughts, right, about these women could have been wrangled in a certain way, because when we do look at things, even colors, they have effects on how it is we see that information. So with Clinton, it was Jennifer Flowers, it was Paula Jones, and it was Monica Lewinsky. There was a CIA director, General Petraeus. Same thing. When his scandal happened, it was 3 women. The Black Panther Party was said to be taken down by 3 women, and these 3 women were Angel Davis, Kathleen Cleaver, and Elaine Brown. There were many, of course, thoughts about why these women, never really served any time or anything like that, and why Assata Shakur is still on the run. But of course, we understand the system. But right now, basically, with the Trump scandal that has started, it's the same thing. You've got your Stormy Daniels, who's the blonde hair. You've got your I think her name is Jessica Drake, and she is representing the dark hair. And then plenty of times when they've showed Melania, Melania has been shown as a ginger or with red hair. Now you have to understand one thing, right? When you are working with the occult, and basically that's what these people are doing. No, when you're working with the occult, right? No, please do not spray that, please. Okay, so when you're working with the occult, a lot of this is symbolism, and so you have to understand that the symbols are going to be shown and be used as ways of accessing energies, right? But basically, the fact of the matter is, if you don't understand that this is a code, right? For when we're looking at the Trump situation, right, and the way the chips are falling, and the way the different countries are really having a lot more animosity, which countries are coming together, to form alliances and things like that. They will communicate with each other within the Masonic elite through ceremonial magic via the big screen, via anything, right? But movies and news studios, definitely. And we have to remember that the same studios that produce our news are the same studios that produce our movies.
Daddy, they're coming back.
So, Jordan,
Hey, they're coming back.
I'm in the middle of a live video. Wait. I'm sorry, guys. I was picking them up from the park. So,
Get icy.
No. I'm in the middle of a live. Wait. So, if you don't have the code, right? It's kind of like legalese. Legalese are words that generally, if we use them every day in our regular conversation, we have an understanding of what the meaning of those words are. But when you go to the court, those words mean something else. So you really have to understand their code. You have to understand their code and what those words mean. You have to understand what it means when you say, yes, I am this this name and this person, and that I even want a lawyer or something like that, because it means you become like basically a ward of the state. You have to really understand these codes and what these things mean, right? To see how it is that they apply to you, and why it makes a difference. But if you don't wish to consider that there is an underlying code, then when the code is happening, you definitely won't be privy to that information. So these 3 women have been basically represented in these stories, right? In the Witches of Eastwick, it was these 3 women that brought down, the devil or a very powerful man or whatever. But you have to understand, number one, they understand what the power of the divine feminine is, right? And when you get a bunch of women specifically, and please, this is not in any way, shape, or form not taking into consideration the awesomeness of the power when masculine and feminine energy works together. But what I'm saying is that there's a reason specifically why feminine energy was demonized, right? Why all of the old cultures, definitely there was a time where you know what I'm saying, they worshipped a goddess or a divine feminine, and then boom, all of a sudden that was no more, and the majority of the world was turned out, something that included, you know, a triple male aspect, you know, your Father, your Son, and your Holy Spirit, triple male. Where's the, you know, the feminine energy? But these three witches or these three powers have definitely been used from time to time to take down powerful men or to cause problems and issues, right? A lot of times, let me see. Oh, there's Tom. But a lot of times too, the way a lot of these women were seen and were addressed afterwards, you know, just due to the media and the way they wanted to color them, was representative of the way women on a whole would be treated or seen. So it's kind of like using, symbolically representing something to amplify the result or the energy, right? And we have to remember there's a lot of information, guys, that we really don't have access to. If I showed up to the Vatican right now and I was like, yo, let me see y'all library right quick, y'all might not ever hear from me again. That's just how they rock. Nobody's getting in there. You know what I'm saying? And there's information in there, right? There's a lot of old information in there, and a lot of processes and things, sciences that they have access to. However, we are the rawest book ever written, right? And so meditation and things like that will definitely begin to open up your book, right, and help you to see
Mommy,
these
I
things.
know how to spell love.
Hold on one second, baby. And again, like I said, Dwayne has definitely done an awesome job with Supreme Science with providing a lot of these cheat codes. But basically, the power of women, right? When we begin to heal and externalize that healing that's happening internally, whatever is going on with us, guys, that's what's happening with the earth, right? We represent the womb of earth, right? And so all of the energy in us, right, that is misaligned is just amplified. Anything that we're seeing externally is showing us what our current situation is internally. And but basically, you know, just watching it kind of happen right now in the media with Trump and everything, it's very reminiscent. I'm just kind of remembering now and kind of putting two and two together. This is the exact same route or template that was used with Clinton. It was the same template that was used with General Petraeus, and it was recently shown also in the King Arthur movie. Very briefly, they just have a scene, right, where there are three women there, and I remember watching it, and I was saying, "Oh, that's Scotland Iron." One moment, Scotland Iron and England, and how those. I mean, the book really does go into a really good explanation of how these multiple powers have come together in the past, basically to design the system that we see right now, right? And even though, you know, I'm not an advocate of you know, blaming everything on the system or anything like that, but I'm definitely an advocate of understanding the system, right? And knowing what the system is about, and then activating yourself and your creativity to understand how to work, you know what I'm saying, within the system and maneuver. That's definitely the God power that we've been provided with. Like I said, it was three women that brought down, you know, the Black Panther Party, and these women were they were basically planted, okay? They were basically like agents planted. So you have to understand that they have a template, right? They have a template. So a lot of us right now, we're coming into, right, our power, and we're like, okay, how do we change this and how do we do this? Listen, the reason why this code and this template is so important is because you're not the first, right? We've had our Marcus Garvey, and we've, oh my goodness. So I think honestly the point, right, is to study these greats and study how it is that the system attempted to move against them, right? And then we use the creativity and all of the wonderful knowledge that we're coming back into to continue to design new systems. We can't use our 1967 Ford turnover in this race against a Shelby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really important that we understand that we are to be adding ourselves and our energy, the rawness that brings, everything that we learn, right? And it's supposed to grow. It's supposed to be bigger. It's supposed to be better. And this is definitely what we're on our way to. What's interesting is this paradigm actually started, right, in the Bible. You hear about Abraham, and he had his 3 wives, right? Sarah, Hagar, and Keturah. And this, I'm sorry, it did not start. The paradigm was shown there as well. I apologize. But originally, that paradigm of the 3 women is, Heteru, Isis or Aset. So this is a template of energy, guys, that has existed, right, for a long time, and they've been able to identify it, right, and we can identify it too, and what that means. The red-haired witch and the black-haired witch, and we've seen this definitely depicted in shows, in Your Charmed, in The Witches of Eastwick, and Hocus Pocus, and one of the what was it, Percy Jackson's, it was there as well. And the thing about it is, right, a lot of times we're looking at these things that are placed there as symbolism, and we're looking at them as actuals, right? And we have to understand how much the meaning or the definition of something changes once you have a code, right? Then you realize that what they're talking about is not actual, but symbolizes something, right? And I was talking about this paradigm and how basically at first it was shown with Heperu, Nebthet, and then Aset or Isis. But in Hollinshen's Chronicles, right, the book just kind of puts you on and lets you know that this is where this paradigm started from. And that, remember also in the movie Dracula, there were these 3 witches, right? And no man in Dracula was able to withstand the power, right, when these 3 witches would come together. So again, it's very symbolic. Even the names that they will use for something. For instance, Dracula changed in Transylvania. Okay, Vania means in the woods, right? And that's what they would do. A lot of these rituals, these things that they access, they would go to the woods and they would transform in the woods. Again, you have to understand a lot of these movies, a lot of these things are showing us a lot of the true history, right, that has happened between these countries. Because you have to understand the way it's being colored in our history books. It's being colored to produce an indoctrinated mindset. Okay, and that indoctrinated mindset is what people are basing their allegiances on. It's what they're basing their information about, the pride that they have in certain things, where it comes from, and what they can have it in, right? And so if we have a false underlying premise or an underlying premise that doesn't include all of the information, you can understand how that would color your decisions with things, right? You can understand how that would color your mental processes and your thoughts. So the fact that there were multiple countries that came together to create a plan, right, to suppress people, not just I wouldn't say not just specifically of color, but basically people who were earth people, right? People who, I'm in the middle of a live baby. People who were in the middle of no thank you, their reverence of earth, understanding our connection to nature, who we really are. They kind of came from all over the earth, right? So there had to be an understanding of the power that is available in the earth. And you finding me, baby? Thank you. I'm not hot though. I'm hot. I'm too hot for TV. What's up, y'all? Sorry, my children found me. But basically, those things, and understanding the true history. There was another live that I did. You know, we gotta read. So you know how basically like in Alice in Wonderland, right? There's this scene where the queen is always upset about the color of the roses, right? And there was this movie that they turned out a little while ago. It's called The War of the Roses. I always wondered, like, why does it matter? Why she was like, oh, I told them to color the roses red or white, whichever one it is. But then when you find out what the War of the Roses is and what the roses signify, right? And how this basically is connected to a huge battle that happened for a long time between the Yorks and the Lancasters. And then you go around country and see how many places have a York or a Lancaster. You see, you know what I'm saying, how our ties to England are, and basically, thank you, baby. You just want to be in this live so bad, don't you? But basically, when you see the connection to that and figure out that when you're paying, you know, taxes, or they're talking about this debt that we claim that it's to England, so-called, and the debt is because they funded both sides of the war and continue to do that, then you really see the manipulation behind it, right? It makes you want to return to nature. But basically, you know what I'm saying, if you've seen that, like I said, in Hocus Pocus or any of these movies, that it wasn't by chance. And and in the movie, those three women always denote, right, a specific power. There's one of these women in Percy Jackson, or a lot of these paradigms, that's shown that they go to for as basically like an oracle type of information. So you have to understand, it's being shown as and being done symbolically, but it also represents women on a whole, and our multiple energies, and how faceted we are, right? And when we come together with a singular mindset, the power, right? The way that can move the Earth's energy. And to illustrate that, right, we've been seeing these feminine marches, or like the Me Too hashtag, right? And the amount of power, right? That is the amount of change that is happening with the Earth when you have a bunch of that energy directed in one spot. So I think definitely it is our responsibility to ensure that we are generating and directing our energy correctly, right? Or at least to where it's going to serve us and our people. There are a lot of things, guys. JJ, no. JJ, no. There are a lot of things that are shown to us in the media, right? And they are colored a specific way. And they're colored that way to gain our sympathies. They're colored that way to gain our support. You know why? Because it doesn't exist or fly until we agree with it. Straight up. It doesn't exist or fly until we agree with it. That's just the way it works. And most of the time, a lot of these things are targeted at women. You know what I'm saying? It's targeted at us. The emotional attachment and power that we can bring, right? When we have the passion, right? When we are driven by something. So, I just kind of really wanted to go over that code. I'll probably be doing a live in a few days, further into, the whole Dracula story and how that's actually connected to the Red Cross and who Christian Rosencrux is. And that's really deep. Again, you've got, a company or, a corporation or whatever that comes to you in the name of an emotional reason. And then when you find out what that really is, it's like, wow. So you really have to be prepared to understand that things are going to be knocked down, right? For you to accept this code and realize like how this code is underlaid in everything they do, in all the businesses and all the communications on the TV, the North, East, West, and South, which is your news. It's all about this code, right? And they've been operating and creating and attaching logos with powers to these businesses because they have the code. So we should use the code too, right? Because even without the code, right, we're amazing. In some of our most harrowing times, we've just spit out the most amazing inventions and stuff. So imagine like once we have this code and operate on it spiritually, guys, and go back to nature, what's going to happen? The victory is ours. I will say that every day because it's for real and I mean it. But yeah, I mean, definitely just kind of take a look back at these things that you've looked at, right? These movies that have had this depiction, the symbolism in it, and then possibly when you watch it with the new mindset and see how that changes the dynamic of the movie for you. You know what I'm saying? What it means and the connections that you can make from then. And then you begin to see them and notice them more and more. That yes, these people really are like using this code, and it abounds. So yeah, I just wanted to add that part that it being connected to the story of Dracula is really important, and how that has shaped and formed the mindset of the people who founded this area and decided that this is what they wanted it to be on. Hollingston's Chronicles again was the book that showed a lot of this, right? But yeah, I apologize if there are any comments or anything that are being made. They generally will not show up for me during the video. They will show up afterwards. But yeah, these paradigms, and like I said with the previous live, we can definitely see that there's a connection, right? Because of the whole St. Patrick's Day thing and that happening in Ireland, but it being such a big deal here. I mean, to the point where they dye rivers green. So it definitely shows you that these countries, founding fathers and goals, right, are definitely connected, right? They definitely have worked together to condition and to program the system the way we see it now. So once we can identify that, then we understand how they work together. And a lot of times when these things are being shown in the news as though they're not working together, it's easy to decipher and to figure out a lot of times that yes, they are, right? And that they will definitely turn out a story, pretending whatever to get our attention and to garner our emotions and to get fear. But we have nothing to fear, though. We got this. So yeah, just really take a look at that and how many times they've shown it in the movie, and ask yourself why. Like if this really wasn't anything, right? And if this didn't symbolize anything, why are there so many depictions of it? Why? right? We can always work backwards with what we have now. And the cheat codes. The cheat codes from Supreme Science, definitely. So, and y'all, he's getting ready soon to drop Red Pill Alchemy. Mind blower. But yeah, definitely. I'm gonna get back on the Supreme Science videos. I'll probably load the ones that I have done onto this page. They were on my personal page, but I'll definitely link them here, because there's a lot of freedom in these codes as far as mentally, right? The way our mentality and our stress works and our belief systems work. They can work like either like a cage for you, or they can work as a catalyst, right, and catapult you. So if you're rocking with, you know what I'm saying, a belief system, and it's definitely done a lot to make you feel fearful about certain things, and there's a code to that information. Personally, you know what I'm saying, I'd love it, because the point is to unlock things, right, and to arrange our thoughts so that they serve us, so that they're comfortable, so we can sit down and have a comfortable thought and not be like, but this it's that misalignment and energy that really does help to keep us boxed in. So yeah, just take a look at how many times this paradigm has been shown, right, and then take a look at it with the information that you have now, and see how that changes the way you're looking at the on-screen symbolism, right, and what that means. So thanks, guys. I apologize that it had to be a two-part, but yeah, we'll definitely just get back on the Supreme Science Live videos and breaking down more of the code, right, so that we can see it. We can see how definitely it affects us, and how we can use the code. Maybe why we should design maybe our own like power symbols and logos and things like that. It gets deep. So thank you, appreciate it. Peace.